So today we're going to start talking about the metric system. And the metric system is a system that all of you use for measuring. The metric system has prefixes like centa, has prefixes like centi, milli, mega. Do those seem familiar to you? Centa and milli and mega and deci and all of these things, do those seem familiar? Hopefully. Okay. So there are 7 units that we use for measurements. Units are the labels that go onto measurements. They tell us, are we talking about weight? Are we talking about length? What are we looking at? Okay? So the base unit, or the unit that we usually use for length, is the meter. Meter. Okay? Are you guys familiar with measuring in meters? That should be your unit for measurement. You use meters, not feet, like Americans use. Okay? You guys use meter, correct? Do you need to look up the word for meter? If you guys are acting like you don't know what meters are. A meter is this long. Okay? This is a meter. So this is what we usually measure length in, is meters. We usually measure mass in kilograms. Kilograms. Okay? You need to be writing this down. We usually measure mass in kilograms. And so this K stands for kilo, and grams is our mass for our unit for mass. Okay, the abbreviation for seconds is just an S. How many seconds are in 1 hour? 60. Yeah, good. So you can write this down if you don't know this. 60 seconds equals 1 minute. 60 seconds equals 1 minute. Okay, do you see on a clock here that little hand that goes tick, 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 tick? The little hand that moves fast? That's the second hand. So it'll tick 60 times in 1 minute. How many minutes are in 1 hour? Also 60. So 60 minutes equals 1 hour. Okay, so this is the abbreviation for hour. HR is hour. Is that familiar to you? Okay, good. And minute, M-I-N, is the abbreviation. Okay. Temperature, we usually measure in Kelvin. You guys usually measure temperature in degrees Celsius. Is that right? Do you usually use Celsius? Does usually your temperature look like this? Degrees Celsius? Yeah? This is almost the same. I'm going to show you how we convert between these two. Kelvin is the temperature used in science. Okay? For scientific purposes, we use Kelvin. This goes with the metric system. Americans measure temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Right? Again, Americans have to do something different. So we won't deal with this very much. Okay, this is what you're used to. I'll show you how we get from Celsius to Kelvin. Okay? All right, I don't want you to have those ones. I don't need you to have those. Okay. So this table, I want you to write into your notes. We are going to talk about these metric prefixes. Okay, do those look familiar to you? Yes, hopefully. Okay. I want you to write this table down in your notes. If you are not comfortable with converting, let's say, 1 meter to centimeters, right? That's the practice that we're going to do. We're going to say how many centimeters are in 2 meters. Okay? So if you need to write this table down, I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to do that. Okay? An important thing for you to remember is that these prefixes apply to every type of measurement. Every type of measurement. So if I asked how many grams are in a kilogram, what would you tell me? If I asked how many grams are in 1 kilogram, you would tell me there is 1,000. Right? Because if there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer or a kilometer, that would also mean there are 1,000 grams in a kilogram. Okay? These prefixes apply to every type of measurement. Meters and grams and liters. Okay? So if I am measuring something in meters, what am I measuring? If I'm measuring in meters, what am I measuring? How much does it weigh? How much liquid there is? How tall it is? What am I measuring? Length, right? Meters is length. Okay, meters equals length. Okay, grams equals mass. How heavy something is. How much something weighs. Liters measures volume. So how much space is it taking up? That's what volume is. How much space does it take up? Okay, tell me that you're familiar with these 3 types of measurements. Yes or no? Okay, if you know what I'm talking about when I talk about these 3, give me a thumbs up. Yes? Okay. So today we're going to practice converting from meters to nanometers. Right? If I say I have 2 meters, how many nanometers are in that? Hopefully that's something you guys have done before, but we're going to do some more practice with it. Okay, let's try just this first one here. We're just going to look at this first one. How many centimeters are in 0.48 kilometers? So first of all, what are we measuring here? Oopsies. What are we measuring when I say kilometers and centimeters? Are we measuring how much there is? Are we measuring the volume, or are we measuring distance or length? Length. I'm measuring length. Okay. So let's say I measured it in kilometers, but I just want to know how many centimeters that is. Okay. I'm going to say 0.48 kilometers. The first thing I do for every conversion problem, conversion is going from one unit to a different unit. Okay, so maybe write that down. Conversion means going from one unit to a different unit. Going from one unit to a different unit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down what I know. And then I draw what I call a T. Okay? When you guys do these problems, do you just move the decimal place? Is that how you were taught to do it? Okay. I'm going to show you another way, and I'm going to let you pick which way you like better. Okay? what I'm going to do is if I have to go from kilometers to centimeters, what's the natural middle point between those two? What'd you say? Just regular meters, right? It's because I don't know off the top of my head how many centimeters are in a kilometer. I just don't know that number. What? Well, okay, but in 1 kilometer. I'm just talking about one. Okay, so what I'm going to say is I need to go from kilometers to meters. Okay, this would be like just like multiplying fractions. Okay, I say in 1 kilometer there are how many meters? 1,000. You need to have that number in your chart so you can see it. Okay, and so if I multiply fractions and I have 1 in the numerator and 1 in the denominator, they cancel. Do we agree with that? So now I'm not quite done yet because I don't want to stop in meters. I want to go from meters to centimeters. Okay, in 1 meter, how many centimeters are there? 100. Good. 100. And so now if I look at my units, I've canceled meters, I've canceled kilometers, and I'm left with centimeters, which is exactly what I want. So now I do the math. We need to think of these as multiplication problems, right? We're just multiplying fractions together. And so I need to take 0.48 times 1,000 and times 100 again. So why don't you get your calculator and do that? Get out your calculator and do that math. Okay, if you have the calculator, get that out. Or if you just know how to move the decimal place, do that and see what you get. And see if we get the right answer. Is that what you had? Is it easier for you to just move the decimal place? Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. You can do it that way. When we start getting into conversions between like American units, this way will be a little bit easier because we can't just move the decimal with American US system measurements. But if you can move the decimal place, that is totally fine. American students have a lot of trouble doing that. So I teach them this way. Okay? Let's try this one. Oopsies. Let's try the second one. Do you want to try that one on your own? Should you end up with a really small number here or a really big number? Really big, right? Because you're going from kilometers to nanometers. Nanometers are a fraction of a meter. Okay, so go ahead and do it yourself, and then we'll check it here in about a minute. So if I was going to do this conversion my way, the T-chart way, I would need to go from kilometers to meters. Meters is always kind of our middleman. Okay, they're always kind of the stopping point in between. So I would say 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. And then I'd say 1 meter is 1 times 10 to the 9th nanometers. Do you know what this means, 1 times 10 to the 9th? Yeah. We're good with scientific notation? Yeah, it's got a lot of zeros, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? What is that, a trillion? Yeah. A million, oh, that's a billion. Okay, so if I do my math, I get 4.24 times 10 to the 12th nanometers. How many of you got that?